Be present.
Sugiti, maybe you can just give a very quick review of the couple of verses that you did, and then you can continue.
Hare Krishna. So we are very sorry for the YouTube participants because there was some audio issues. So we have just covered a couple of verses and I'll quickly take you through the verse. So here we saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, finally, he gives a name to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. He names them, the two brothers, Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik, he names them Rupa and Sanatan. And he says that please give up this humility. So Mahaprabhu remembers their humility, and we saw in the last session also that how these two brothers came to see Mahaprabhu with all their humility, with holding a straw in their mouth and paying full obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, though these are such exalted, they were holding such important positions in the king's government, the Nawab's government, and yet they had come with all humility and simplicity. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted them as his disciple. He named them as Rup and Sanatan. So that is what happens at the time of initiation, that we get our spiritual name, and the spiritual master give us the holy names also. So that is what is happening here. And as I was also mentioning, that all of us are known as Rupanugas. So those who are the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, those of us who are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who are connected in this parampara of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So Rupa Goswami is our leader, and that is how we get the name Rupanugas. So let's proceed. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also tells that how he has received so many letters from these two brothers, and he knows that their heart and humility. Tomara hrudaya ami jani patri dware, toma shikhaite shloka pathail tomare. By your letters I could understand your heart. Therefore, in order to teach you, I sent you one verse which reads as follows. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not only did he receive the letters, but he actually replied to their letters also. So like in current time, we see, for example, my Guru Maharaj, my spiritual master, so he has so many thousands and thousands of disciples, but whichever disciple write an email to him, so Guru Maharaj takes out personal time and he replies back to the disciple. So here we see similarly that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had replied to these brothers. And now Mahaprabhu is going to quote one very important shloka, which is very, very important for all of us who are performing bhakti. Paravyasini ninari vyagrapi griha karmasu tad eva swadayayati antar navasangarasayanam. So now this is an interesting verse. Let's read the translation carefully. It says, if a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, which means a woman, if she is having what we say extramarital affair, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs, but within her heart she is always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. So what is happening here, that if a lady, she has some extramarital affair, so externally the husband would feel that she is such a dutiful lady, she's taking care of my house, my parents, my children, everything so perfectly. So externally she does all those duties, and internally within her mind she is constantly thinking about her lover. So that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. And this is one of the verse which is very often quoted by Srila Prabhupada also. So when we are performing devotional service, so like those of us who have attended the Gita Made Easy and the Gita Mastery course would know that when we talk about there, we were mentioning there in GME and this one, that how we need to balance the two duties. So we have duty towards our body and we have spiritual duty. So like this lady, she is perfectly doing all the external duties so that nobody disturbs her when she's thinking about her lover. So similarly, we have to take care of all our responsibilities very nicely and simultaneously perform activities which takes us closer to the Supreme Lord. So this is the instruction which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, because they were holding such important ministerial positions, and that too in a Muslim government. So that is why they should do all their duties properly, and simultaneously they should also make progress towards the Supreme Lord Krishna. Gauda nikatasi te nahi mora prayojana, Toma dunha dekhite mora iha agamana. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is revealing the real reason as why he had come to this place. He says, I really had no business in coming to Bengal, but I have come just to see you two brothers. It is very good that you two brothers have come to see me. Now you can go home. Do not fear anything. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had personally visited Bengal just to meet these two wonderful brothers whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has claimed that they are his eternal servant for many, many lifetimes. So Mahaprabhu is saying this here, and then he says, Janme janme tumi dui kinkar amara, achirate Krishna tomai karibe udhara. Janme janme tumi dui kinkar amara. Janme janme, birth after birth. Tumi dui, you both have been what? Kinkar. Kinkar means servant. So you both have been my servant, or you both have been my eternal servant. And then he says, I am sure that Krishna will deliver you very soon. So as we have heard that these two brothers had to serve the Muslim king, and that is why they were feeling very low about themselves. That is why they were pleading that how they are even more fallen than Jagai and Madhai, because they were serving the meat eaters, serving the cow eaters. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that very soon you both will be delivered. Eta bali dohar shire dhar dui hate, dui bhai prabhu pada nila nij mathe. The Lord then placed his two hands on the heads of both of them. And return, they immediately placed the lotus feet of the Lord on their heads. Dui jane prabhur krupa dekhi bhakt gane, Hari Hari bole sabe anandita mane. So now what is happening when all the devotees saw the mercy of the Lord upon the two brothers? They were very much gladdened, and they began to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hari Hari. So actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there surrounded by many, many devotees, and immediately next to him was Nityanand Prabhu. So all the devotees, when they saw that these two brothers, they have received this special mercy and blessing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. See, these are the first two devotees whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually giving a name, and he is actually praising them, and he is openly telling them that you are my servant birth after birth. So all that is happening with them. So other devotees, now this is striking, other devotees, they feel extremely happy. They were very much gladdened, and we will see that how everyone started blessing them. So that is a very important and significant quality of a Vaishnava, that when we see the other Vaishnavas, when we see the other devotees doing better service than us, or receiving more blessings and mercy than us, then we do not become jealous of them. Like how the thing is in the material world, that if somebody else, like if we are working in a company, and if my colleague gets promotion, or if my colleague gets some recognition, then I feel very envious. Or even in the siblings, so if there are two, like a brother and a sister, and if let's say the sister gets a lot of attention, then the brother feels jealous, and the vice versa. So here with the devotees, this is wonderful. The wonderful thing is that they celebrate the others receiving more mercy than them. When others do more service, then they feel even more happy. And that is what all the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually teaching us here. Nityananda Hari Das Shivas Gadadhara Mukunda Jagadananda Murari Bakreshwar. All the Vaishnava associates of the Lord were present, including Nityanand Prabhu, Haridas Thakur, Srivas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, Mukunda, Jagadananda, Murari, and Bakreshwar. So in the later parts of Chaitanya Charitamrita, we will get to know more about these wonderful devotees whose names are mentioned. So all those Vaishnavas are present there, and then they were all very, very happy. Sabare charane dhari pode dui bhai, sabe bole dhanya tumi paile gosai. In accordance with the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatana, immediately touched the lotus feet of these Vaishnavas, who all became very happy and congratulated the two brothers for having received the mercy of the Lord. So they were also genuinely happy, and they were blessing them, and then they were congratulating them that what you have received, Dhanya to me, you are so fortunate. Paila Gosai, you have received the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sahaba Pasha Agya Magi Chalana Samaya Prabhu Pade Kahe Kichu Koriya Vinaya. After begging the permission of all the Vaishnavas present, the two brothers, at the time of their departure, humbly submitted something at the lotus feet of the Lord. So now Sanatana and Rupa, especially Sanatana Goswami, we will see that he has a request here. So as you can see at the bottom of the slide, it's mentioned Sanatana's suggestion. So he had a request and he is humbly submitting to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Iha hoite chala Prabhu, iha nahi kaya, yadyapi tomare bhakti kare Gauda Raja. They said, dear Lord, although the King of Bengal, Nawab Hussain Shah, is very respectful towards you, you have no other business here. Kindly depart from this place. So now, if we remember in the last session, we were discussing that how this Nawab Hussain Shah, he calls people and he was checking on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he was asking certain questions as how important is he or who is he, because so many people were traveling with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so that caught his attention. So Sanatana Goswami is sort of warning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Mahaprabhu, you are saying that you have come here to see us. So now you have met us and you don't have any other business here. So kindly leave this place. Though the king is very respectful of you as of now, but we don't know what may happen later. So you better leave this place. Tathapi yavana jati na kari pratiti, tirtha yatra eta sangad bhalana heriti. Although the king is respectful toward you, he still belongs to the Yavan class and should not be believed. We think that there is no need for such a great crowd to accompany you on your pilgrimage to Vrindavan. So Sanatana Goswami is giving two reasons. One, that because the king is a Yavana king. So we remember in Adi Lila what has happened, that Mridanga, that Kazi, he actually breaks the Mridanga. So they were envious of, they were of not the same religion, so they were envious people. So he's saying that though king is respectful now, but don't trust him for long, because what if like 10-20 people go of his religion and he starts talking about you, and then he may just send some soldiers and attack you or whatever. So so all those things are there. So he's telling in very limited word, don't believe him. So your job is done, now you leave. And then he also says that the second reason is, there is no need for such a great crowd to accompany you on your pilgrimage to Vrindavan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindavan and so many devotees had joined him. So again, he's saying that so much crowd, again, what would happen? One, so much crowd would attract attention of people wherever he would go around. So all the places wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would pass by, the attention would be attracted. And second, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may not, it is not really good to go with so much of pilgrim, because it may be a distraction for you. You may not like it also. So this is the humble suggestion which they make. Yara sange chale lok lakshi koti, Vrindavana yatarane nahe paripati. Dear Lord, you are going to Vrindavan with hundreds and thousands of people following you. And this is not a fitting way to go on a pilgrimage. Yadyapi vastuta prabhur kichu nahi bhoya, tathapi laukika lila lokacheshta maya. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Lord, and was therefore not at all fearful, he still acted like a human being to teach neophytes how to act. So he was teaching as what is a proper conduct. So though he was not scared of the king, yet we will see that how he follows Sanatana Goswami's suggestion. Etabali charan vandi gela dui jana Prabhur sei grama hoite chalite hailmana. Having spoken thus, the two brothers offered prayers to the lotus feet of the Lord and returned to their homes. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then desired to leave that village. Prate chali aila Prabhu kana natashala dekhila sakala taha Krish Charitra Lila. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to another place, and this place, the name of this place is Kanai Natshala. So Kanai Natshala actually refers to a place where Krishna has performed various pastimes. Kanai as in Kanhai or Krishna, and Natshala, which means where he has performed various pastimes. So actually during those days, various places in Bengal were known as Kanai Natshala, because there were various places which were famous for Lord's pastime. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually goes to a particular place which is known as Kanai Natshala. Sei ratre prabhu taha chinte mone mana sange sangata bhal nahe koila sanatana Mathura yaiba ami et loka sange kichu sukha na paiba hobe rasa bhange. That night, the Lord considered Sanatana Goswami's proposal that he should not go to Vrindavan followed by so many people. The Lord thought, if I go to Mathura with such crowds behind me, it would not be a very happy situation, for the atmosphere would be disturbed. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we see that when Sanatana Goswami made the request, he immediately did not react to it, but then he was thinking about it the next day. In fact, the next day itself, he leaves that place for Kanai Natshala, and then here he starts thinking of whether he should go to Vrindavan or not with so many people. Ekaki ai ba kimva sange ek jana tabe se shobhaye Vrindavane ragamana eta chinti prata kale ganga snana kori nila chale yaba boli chalila gaura hari. The Lord concluded that he would go alone to Vrindavan, or at most would take only one person as his companion. In that way, going to Vrindavan would be very pleasant. Thinking like this, the Lord took his morning bath in the Ganges and started for Neelachal, saying, I shall go there. So if we remember, I think 2 sessions, probably in the last session or maybe a session before, there was this discussion of a particular brahmachari who was thinking in his mind, and he was making the road for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's coming till Vrindavan. He wanted to make the road till Vrindavan. But then even in his vision, even while he was mentally trying to make the road, he could not construct beyond Kanai Natshala. So who remembers what is the name of that brahmachari? Yes, Meenakshi, it was Nrsingananda Brahmachari. Jai, wonderful. So Nrsinganand, yes, Hari Prasad is also writing. So Nrsingananda Brahmachari, there he predicted that though Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has decided to go, but I am telling you for sure, take it my assurance that he will not go to Vrindavan. So this is what is happening here. Ei mata chali chali aila shanti pure dina panch sat rahil acharyera ghare. Walking and walking, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Shantipur and remained at the house of Advaita Acharya for 5 to 7 days. Shachi Devi Ani Tanre Koila Namaskar Sata Dena Tanra Thani Bikavyavahar. Taking this opportunity, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu sent for Mother Shachi. So Shachi Devi was staying close by to Shantipur. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to Shantipur. Now, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas, so he could not go to Mayapur because sannyasi is not supposed to go to his own village, but he was staying close by in Shantipur. So Advaita Acharya immediately sends for Shachi Mata to come, and Shachi Mata comes there, and for 7 days she stays in his house and she cooked for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when we will read this pastime in detail, so as of now, this is a summary what Krishnadas Kaviraj is giving of Madhya Lila. It's a synopsis. But when we will read in detail, then we will see that how people in Shantipur were very eager to cook for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And generally, the custom is that we invite sannyasis to our house for prasadam. So they all wanted to invite, they were planning to invite, and Sachi Mata requested them that please do not invite him to your house because you can see him and you can invite him when you go to Jagannath Puri. But I get this very, very rare opportunity now only to cook for him. So please allow me, please sanction this much boon to me that I get to cook for these 7 days. So Sachi Mata actually cooks for 7 days for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tanra agyalana puna korila gamane vinaya koriya vidaye dila bhakta gane. Taking permission from his mother, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then started for Jagannath Puri. When the devotees followed him, he humbly begged them to remain and bade them all farewell. Jana dui sange ami yabanila chale amare miliba asi ratha yatra kale. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although requesting all the devotees to go back, allowed 2 people to follow him. He requested all the devotees to come to Jagannath Puri and meet him during the Car festival. So this specific request we have seen that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made before also, that every year he had given an instruction that every year the devotees from Bengal should come to Jagannath Puri during the time of Rath Yatra. So that is what he is telling here also, that you please come at that time. Balabhadra Bhattacharya Pandit Damodara Dui Jana Sange Prabhu Aila Neelachala. So 2 people accompany him to Neelachal, Balabhadra Bhattacharya and Damodar Pandit. And all the other devotees who were from Bengal, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs them to stay back and come during Rath Yatra time. Dinakata taharohi chalila vrindavana Lukana chalila ratre na jane konjana. After remaining at Jagannath Puri for a few days, the Lord secretly started for Vrindavan at night. He did this without anyone's knowledge. So Mahaprabhu is doing it without anyone's knowledge because he did not want the whole village to travel along with him. So this is what he secretly started for Vrindavan. Balabhadra Bhattacharya Rahe Matre Sange Jhari Kanda Pathe Kashi Oila Maharange. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left Jagannath Puri for Vrindavan, he was accompanied only with one servant or devotee. His name was Balbhadra Bhattacharya and he was a very nice and simple Brahmana. So he accompanied Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu actually traveled through the path of Jharikhand forest. So we have this Jharkhand village now. So that is known as Jharikhanda forest. So through that path, he actually straight goes to Varanasi or Binaras. Now, when we will read this pastime, again, we will see how beautifully Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made all the wild animals. He converted all the wild animals into devotees because all the wild animals started chanting with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Dinachara Kashit Rahi Gela Vrindavana Mathura Dekhiya Dekhe Dvadasha Kanana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed at Banaras only for 4 days and then left for Vrindavan. After seeing the town of Mathura, he visited the 12 forests, Dvadasha Kanan. So 12 forest. Kanan means forest and Dvadash means 12. So there, Vrindavan is actually, the whole area has 12 forests. So he visited all the 12 forests. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited all 12 places of Sri Krishna's pastime, he became very much agitated because of ecstasy. Balbhadra Bhattacharya somehow or other got him out of Mathura. So when Mahaprabhu was there, he started, his feelings of separation from Krishna intensified, and he was constantly in ecstasy. So Balbhadra Bhattacharya got him out of Mathura. Ganga tira pathe lana prayage aila, Shri Rupa asi Prabhu ke tathai milila. After leaving Mathura, the Lord began to walk along the path on the bank of Ganges, and finally he reached the holy place named Prayag or Allahabad. It was there that Srila Rupa Goswami came and met the Lord. So again, it's a long story which we would be reading as how Rupa Goswami escapes from the ministerial position of the king, and he actually comes and surrenders to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Allahabad. Dandavat kori Rupa bhumite padila, Parama anande Prabhu alingana dila. Shri Rupe shikha karai pathaila vrindavana, Apane karila varanasi agamana. At Prayag, Rupa Goswami fell down on the ground to offer obeisances to the Lord, and the Lord embraced him with great delight. After instructing Srila Rupa Goswami at Prayag at the Dashaswamed Ghat, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered him to go to Vrindavan. The Lord then returned to Varanasi. So this is happening in Allahabad or Prayag, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa Goswami, and he gives very specific instruction. Again, we will be reading in detail what specific instruction he gives Rupa Goswami, and then he sends him off to Vrindavan, and he carries on his journey to Varanasi. Kashite Prabhu ke asi milila sanatan, dui masa rohi tanre karai shikshana. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Varanasi, Sanatana Goswami met him there. The Lord remained there for 2 months and instructed Sanatana Goswami perfectly. So these are the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan. Rupa actually escapes before Sanatan. So he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled from Allahabad to Varanasi, so by this time when Mahaprabhu reaches there, Sanatana Goswami had also come there. So this is how he meets him, and he instructs Sanatana Goswami for 2 months. Mathura pathaila tanre diya bhakti bola, Sanyasi re krupa kori gela nila chala. After fully instructing Sanatana Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent him to Mathura with empowered devotional service. In Banaras, he also bestowed his mercy upon the Mayavadi sannyasis. He then returned to Nilachal Jagannath Puri. So this particular incident of delivering the Mayavadi sannyasi, this particular incident we have already read in detail in the Adi Lila. So I hope you remember the pastime of Prakashananda Saraswati and how all his disciples, he along with all his disciples, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu magically converted him. He wins his heart, he wins their heart with his humility. So this is what is being referred here about that particular pastime. Chayavat saraiche Prabhu korila vilasa, Kobhu iti uti kobhu kshetra vasa. The Lord traveled all over India for 6 years. He was sometimes here and sometimes there, performing his transcendental pastimes, and sometimes he remained at Jagannath Puri. Anande bhakta sange sada kirtan vilasa, Jagannath darshana premera vilasa. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was at Jagannath Puri, the Lord would perform every day. He would perform Sankirtan. He would visit the temple of Jagannath Puri, Jagannath Swami temple. He would visit and he would perform Kirtan in great ecstasy. And he was actually relishing that time in Jagannath Puri. Madhya Lila kailu e sutra vivarna, Antya Lila sutra ebe shona bhakta gana. Thus I have given a synopsis of the Madhya Lila, the middle pastimes of the Lord. Now, O devotees, kindly hear the synopsis of the final pastimes of the Lord, known as the Antya Lila. So here is the next section from verse number 249 to 287, the synopsis of Antya Lila. So now we may all wonder that why Krishnadas Kaviraj is giving the synopsis first of Madhya Lila and then of Ante Lila. Anyway, he's going to describe everything in detail. So what is the purpose behind this? So when Krishnadas Kaviraj actually started writing Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was very, very old. And he was not sure whether he would survive to complete the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he was very anxious that if he will not inform about these wonderful pastimes, then what would happen? How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be glorified, or how he can contribute in the glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is why first he tells everything briefly, that what if I do not live for that long to complete that? So that is how first he gave the summary of Madhya Lila, and now he's giving the summary of Antya Lila. Vrindavana hoite yadi Nila chale aila 18 varsh taha vasa kaha nahi gela. When the Lord returned to Jagannath Puri from Vrindavan, he remained there and did not go anywhere else for 18 years. So the 18 years, the activities is being described here, what Mahaprabhu would do. Prativarsha ai sena taha gauder bhakta gana chari masa rahe prabhur sange sammilana. So every year, the devotees from Bengal would visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, and they would remain there for 4 months. So Chaturmas, that 4-month period, they would spend happily in the company of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nirantara nritya gita kirtan vilasa achandale prema bhakti korila prakasha. At Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed chanting and dancing unceasingly. Thus, he enjoyed the pastime of Sankirtan. He manifested his causeless mercy, pure love of God to everyone, including the lowest man. This is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually establishing the Yuga Dharma of Hari Nam Sankirtan. When the devotees congregate, when the devotees come together, and all of them, they together either chant or sing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when we all come together and chant collectively, that is known as Sankirtan. And that is what is the purpose of our morning and evening japa session. So I'm sure everybody knows that every morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and every evening at 6 p.m. we do the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra together. So those of you who are not joining, I humbly invite you all, please, please, please make it a point to attend at least some portion of the japa, if not all. So morning we chant continuously for 2 hours, at least for 1 round, 2 rounds, 4 rounds, whatever time suits you, please join, because Sankirtan has immense potency. That is the Yuga Dharma. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing in Jagannath Puri. हरिदासेर सिद्धि प्राप्ति अद्भुत से सभा आपनी महाप्रभु यानरा कैला महोत्सव. At Jagannath Puri, Haridas Thakur passed away. The incident was very wonderful because the Lord himself performed the festival of Thakur Haridas's departure. So those of us who have been to Jagannath Puri and have visited this place, Haridas Thakur Samadhi Mandir, so that is the place where the Samadhi was actually made, and the final rites of Haridas Thakur was performed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So here in the picture we can see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Haridas Thakur has departed, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is holding his body, carrying his body in his arms, and he's weeping and crying and singing, and like that he takes this body to the ocean, he gives bath, and then he does all the final rites of Haridas Thakur. So he personally does everything for Haridas Thakur. Why? Because Haridas Thakur was such an exalted devotee. As we all know, he is also known as Namacharya. He is the Nam Acharya, or the Acharya of the holy name. So there are a couple of chapters dedicated entirely to Haridas Thakur, which we will be discussing in Madhya Lila. तबे रूप गोसाईरा पुनरागमना ताहारा हृदये कैला प्रभु शक्ति संचारणा तबे छोटा हरिदासे प्रभु कैला दंड दामोदर पंडित कैला प्रभु के वाक्य दंड. At Jagannath Puri, Srila Rupa Goswami met the Lord again, and the Lord invested his heart with all transcendental power. After this, the Lord punished Junior Haridas, and Damodar Pandit gave some warning to the Lord. So again, this is all in very brief. And I'm sure that after reading these brief one verse about one pastime, we all are becoming eager. We all are becoming curious to dive deep into these chapters and see what is happening. So very shortly, we would be doing that also. তবে সনাতন গোসাইয়ের পুনরাগমনা জ্যৈষ্ঠ মাসে প্রভু তান রে কইলা পরীক্ষণা তুষ্ট হন প্রভু তান রে পাঠাইল বৃন্দাবনা অদ্বৈতেরা হস্তে প্রভুর অদ্ভুত ভোজনা. Thereafter, Sanatan Goswami met the Lord again, and the Lord tested him in scorching heat during the month of Jyesht. Being pleased, the Lord sent Sanatan Goswami back to Vrindavan. After that, he was fed wonderfully by the hands of Sri Advaita Acharya. So this particular pastime is also very, very unique. So when Sanatan Goswami visits Chaitanya Mahāprabhu in Jagannath Puri, Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they were so humble. Haridas Thakur was so humble. So out of their humility, they would not go to Jagannath temple. They would say that we are so fallen, we are so low, we are so lowly creatures that even if our shadow falls on the priest of Jagannath, then that would be contaminating. So that is why they decided that they do not have adhikar to step in Jagannath temple, and they did not go there. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did is, one day for testing him, he calls Sanatan Goswami in scorching heat. So if Sanatan Goswami would come from the front of Jagannath Puri temple, then that was a shortcut. And then there was a long cut to reach, and that was through the sandy beach. So those of us who have the experience of beaches like Chennai Vasis, so we never ever do we step on the sandy beach during the scorching sun, because we know that the sand would burn our feet. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had called for Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami had two options, either to go from the front gate of Jagannath Puri or take a long route and go via the sandy beach. And Sanatan Goswami, even under that situation, he did not, he followed his own rules that he would not go near the temple of Jagannath Puri in order to contaminate others. So that is the pastime which is mentioned here, that Lord tested Sanatan Goswami, and he was very pleased with Sanatan Goswami's humility. And the other pastime is about Advaita Acharya feeding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityananda Sange Yukti Koriyani Brite Tanre Pathaila Gaude Prema Pracharite. After sending Sanatan Goswami back to Vrindavan, the Lord privately consulted with Sri Nityanand Prabhu. He then sent him to Bengal to preach love of Godhead. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that I cannot go to Bengal, but I expect you to preach on my behalf. This is what I want you to do. So go to Vrindavan and preach, and do not come back to Puri. You be there and you preach. May I request the moderator to share the attendance link also for the day? Tabeta Vallabha Bhatta Prabhu Remi Lila Krishna Namar Artha Prabhu Tahare Kahila. Soon afterward, Vallabh Bhatt met the Lord at Jagannath Puri, and the Lord explained to him the import of the holy name of Krishna. So that is another very interesting conversation which we would be witnessing shortly. Pradyumne Shere Prabhu Ramananda Sthane Krishna Katha Shunaila Kahitan Ragune. After explaining the transcendental qualities of Ramananda Rai, the Lord sent Pradyum Mishra to his residence, and Pradyum Mishra learned Krishna Katha from him. So this is another wonderful devotee, Pradyum Mishra, and he wanted to learn more about Krishna. So he approaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that if you want to learn about Krishna, you must go to Ramananda Rai, because even if when I need to learn, I go to Ramananda Rai. So this is how actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorifies his servants. So here he's praising Ramananda Rai, and he makes Pradyum Mishra received the instructions on transcendental subject matter through Ramananda Rai. Gopinath Patanayak Ramananda Bhrata Raja Marite Chil Prabhu Hoila Trata. After this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved Gopinath Patnaik, the younger brother of Ramananda Rai, from being condemned to death by the king. So here in this pastime, we will read that how there was some, like Gopinath Patnaik was serving under the king, and there was some tax evasion on his part. So then, because of that, there was some confusion, there was some misunderstanding related to the tax, and the king had subjugated that Gopinath Patnaik to be like for the death statement. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so devotees approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to save him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very angry and upset because he was a sannyasi and he did not want to interfere at all with the worldly matter. So he does not interfere also, but the king gets to know about Gopinath Patnaik and his brother Ramananda Rai, and then actually Gopinath Patnaik was delivered, or rather protected. So that is this incident. Ramachandra Puri bhaye bhikha ghataila Vaishnavera dukha dekhi ardhe ka rakhila. Now, this is another very instructive incident which you would be reading about Ramachandra Puri. So Ramachandra Puri criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eating. Therefore, the Lord reduced his eating to a minimum. However, when all the Vaishnavas became very sorry, the Lord increased his portion to half as much as usual. So Ramchandra Puri is actually an offender, and we will see that how he would actually tell Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he should eat more. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eats more, then he goes on his back and he criticizes. He criticizes Mahaprabhu that, oh, look, you are a sannyasi, and how much a sannyasi is eating. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard things like this, then he actually reduced his eating drastically. And after that, Ramchandra Puri had gone. But all the Puri devotees, they were so upset. The Bengal devotees, they were so upset because they could see that their Lord was not eating properly. So just to please the Vaishnavas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again makes a compromise and he starts eating the regular portion. Brahmanda bhitare haya chauda bhuvana chauda bhuvane vaise yata jiva gana Manusher Aveshadhari Yatrikera Chale Prabhur Darshana Kare Asinila Chale. There are 14 planetary systems within the universe, and all living entities reside in those planetary systems. Dressing like human beings on pilgrimage, they all used to come to Jagannath Puri to visit Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all the devatas and people residing in the higher or the lower planetary system, everyone would come to receive the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they would come in human-like form to visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ekadena Shrivasadi Yata Bhakta Gana Mahaprabhur Guna Gana Karena Kirtana Shuni Bhakta Gane Kahe Sakrodha Vachane Krishna Nama Guna Chadi Ki Kara Kirtane. One day, all the devotees headed by Srivas Thakur were chanting the transcendental qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Not liking the chanting of his transcendental qualities, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised them as if he were angry. What kind of chanting is this? He asked. Are you leaving aside the chanting of the holy name of the Lord? So these devotees, they were all glorifying Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Gaurasundar, wonderful Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did this, he did that. And he gets so angry. He says, why are you glorifying me? You have to glorify Krishna and you have to chant his holy name. So whenever some devotee would glorify Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and say that you are Krishna, he would just close his ears and he would say, Vishnu, 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 such an offense. And he would run away from that place. So he would not like to be glorified. Why? Because he's a Chinna avatar. He's a hidden incarnation. So he does not want to reveal it completely. Audhotaya kare thaila sabakara mana Swatantra haiya sabe nashabe bhuvana Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised all the devotees, telling them not to show impudence and spoil the entire world by becoming independent. दशदी के कोटि कोटि लोक है न काले जय कृष्ण चैतन्य बोली करे कोलाहले. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was apparently in an angry mood and chastising his devotees, many thousands of people outside loudly cried in a tumultuous voice, "All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu!" All the people began to call very loudly, "All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the son of Maharaj Nanda. Now you have appeared in order to deliver the whole world." So inside um, in his residence, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was getting angry, and outside there were many devotees who have gathered, and they were all like glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bahudura hoite ainu hana bada arta darshana diya prabhu karah kritartha শুনিয়া লোকেরা দৈন্যা দ্রবিলা হৃদয়া বাহিরে আসি দর্শন দিলা দয়া মায়া. Oh Lord, we are very unhappy. We have come a long distance to see you. Please be merciful and show us your favor. When the Lord heard the humble petition made by the people, his heart softened. Being very merciful, he immediately came out and gave audience to all of them. So inside, he was getting angry at his close associates. And outside, when he heard that there are lots of people who have traveled from long distance and they have come to receive mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So because he is Mahavadanyaya, he is the most compassionate one. So his heart melted and he came outside. বাহুতুলি বলে প্রভু বল হারি হারি উঠিলা শ্রী হরি ধ্বনি চতুর্দিক ভরি প্রভু দেখি প্রেম লোক আনন্দিত মনা প্রভুকে ঈশ্বর বলি করয়া স্তবনা. Raising his arms, the Lord asked everyone to chant loudly the vibration of the holy name of Lord Hari. There immediately arose a great stir, and the vibration of Hari filled all directions. Seeing the Lord, everyone became joyful out of love. Everyone accepted the Lord as the Supreme, and thus they offered their prayers. So, what we should all do now? Hari Hari, Hari Hari, Bala Hari Hari. सवशोनि प्रभु के कहे न श्रीनिवासा घरे गुप्त हाओ केने बाहिरे प्रकाशा. So now this was the time for Srinivas Thakur. What he said? At home you wanted to be covered. Ghare gupta hao. Gupta means hidden, secret. So ghare, when you are inside, you want to be hidden. Kene bahire prakasha. Now why you are exposing yourself outside? You are coming in front of so many people and they are glorifying you and you are accepting that all. And when we are saying you want to be covered, so what is this? Sorry. Rest. Just a sec. I don't know. কি শিখালা এই লোকে কহে কোন বাতা ইহা সবার মুখ ঢাকা দিয়া নিজ হাতা सूर्य याईचे उदय करी चालकीते बुझिते न पारी तैचे तोमार चरिते. Srivas Thakur continued, who has taught these people? What are they saying? Now you can cover their mouths with your own hand. It is as if the sun after rising wanted to hide itself. We cannot understand such characteristics in your behavior. So he's saying, just now you have accepted what these people are saying, and now you cannot take it back. Now you cannot tell that, okay, hide it. It's like the sun, once it rises, it cannot go back into the horizon. It's rising there. Prabhu kahe Srinivasa chhada vidambana sabe mili kara mora kote kalanchana etabali loke kori shubha drishti dana अभ्यंतरे गेला लोकेर पूर्ण होइला कामा. The Lord replied, my dear Srinivas, please stop joking. Chhada vidambana. Please stop joking. You have all combined together to humiliate me in this way. So Mahaprabhu has understood and he's telling you all have ganged up against me, and that is why you all are doing like this. Thus speaking, the Lord entered his room after glancing auspiciously upon the people out of charity. In this way, the desires of the people were completely fulfilled. So we will stop here by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So hope all of us enjoy this wonderful description, the synopsis of Chaitanya Charitamrita, part of Madhya Lila and part of Anta Lila. We will conclude this chapter, and Krishna willing, we will start and maybe end the next chapter, chapter 2, in the next session. So looking forward to see all of you for the next session. And please, so we will be opening the WhatsApp group, and also the YouTube link is there. And those of you who are watching on the YouTube, we would like to hear from you. What is your realization from today's session? So thank you all very much. Looking forward to see all of you next week. No, looking forward to see all of you tomorrow morning for the Japa session. Hare Krishna.